The air in Lecture Hall 7 was already cold, but when the steel shutters ground open, the temperature seemed to plummet. Elias Vance Bebaya sat midway down the human-sized tier of benches, trying not to look as unimpressed as he felt. The rest of the class had gone silent. 100 alien cadets, all species with their own prides and fears, watched as Instructor Veyrax strode to the front. His scaled hide glistened under the pale light. His jaw curved upward in a smile that was nothing like humor. "Today," Veyrax hissed, his voice amplified through the hall, "you will meet fear itself." Behind him, a reinforced cage groaned. Inside, a shape shifted, claws scraping metal. Some students leaned forward, eager. Others shrank back, antennae twitching. Elias folded his arms. He had heard rumors about this demonstration, the fear trial. The academy thought exposing young cadets to apex predators built character. He thought it sounded more like theater. With a gesture, Veyrax triggered the release. The cage split open. A creature padded into the hall, its form flowing like a nightmare, pulled from a dozen ecosystems. 6 legs bent wrong, fur bristling between plates of bone. Its eyes, 7 of them, gleaming silver, tracked the room with predatory precision. The Vral student beside Elias whimpered and slid off the bench. The predator sniffed the air. The Kethari with their frilled necks pressed themselves against the wall. The Thrix clicked in panic. Even the stoic Drekin blinked twice, their species equivalent of fear. The predator moved slowly, savoring the scent of prey. Its claws tapped, tick-tack, on the flooring. Every alien it passed tried to shrink away, but the beast ignored them. Then it stopped. Its 7 eyes locked on Elias. Elias didn't move. Not because he was fearless, but because some instinct whispered don't. His heart thundered, but his body refused to betray it. The predator approached, gasps erupted. Some cadets hissed warnings, others shouted for Elias to run. Instructor Veyrax leaned forward, his grin widening. Yes, let us see the human exposed. The predator's head lowered until Elias could feel its breath. A hot, fetid wind across his face. Its teeth gleamed inches away. Then the impossible happened. The beast lowered itself further and knelt. A shudder went through the hall. One of the Kethari dropped their datapad, the clatter echoing. "What?" someone whispered. The predator's posture was unmistakable. Submission. Elias blinked. His mind raced. He hadn't moved. He hadn't spoken. Yet here it was, kneeling before him as though before a master. Veyrax's expression soured. His claws clicked against the podium. "This is an error." "No error," murmured a Thrix student. "It chose." The predator pressed its snout against Elias's knee. Elias exhaled slowly, raising his hands. "Easy there," he whispered, his voice carrying farther than he expected. The predator stilled. The entire class leaned in, the fear in the air shifting to a new current, something more dangerous. Curiosity. Veyrax slammed the console. "Enough! The trial is concluded!" But the beast did not move. Its eyes stayed fixed on Elias, and Elias, for the first time, realized every gaze in the hall had turned toward him, not with fear of the predator, but with something colder. Suspicion. The predator's posture was unmistakable. Submission. Elias blinked. His mind raced. He hadn't moved. He hadn't spoken. Yet here it was, kneeling before him as though before a master. Veyrax's expression soured. His claws clicked against the podium. "This is an error." "No error," murmured a Thrix student. "It chose." The predator pressed its snout against Elias's knee. Elias exhaled slowly, raising his hands. "Easy there," he whispered, his voice carrying farther than he expected. The predator stilled. The entire class leaned in, the fear in the air shifting to a new current, something more dangerous. Curiosity. Veyrax slammed the console. Enough! The trial is concluded! But the beast did not move. Its eyes stayed fixed on Elias. And Elias, for the first time, realized every gaze in the hall had turned toward him. Not with fear of the predator, but with something colder. Suspicion. The lecture hall did not empty so much as spill. Students bolted through the archways in clusters, their voices overlapping in a dozen languages. Some hissed accusations, others whispered speculations. A few simply stared at Elias as though he had grown a second head. He stayed seated, letting the tide move around him. The predator, whatever its official designation was, remained crouched at his side, unshaken by the chaos. Its 7 eyes tracked the exits, but never left him for long. When he shifted a hand, the beast's head followed, muscles tensing like it expected his command. Instructor Veyrax loomed at the podium, claws scraping against metal. His throat sac pulsed with irritation. "This is unacceptable," he snarled, voice carrying over the cacophony. "Cadet Vance, you will remain where you are until this specimen is secured." Elias raised his brows. "Secured by who?" He glanced at the retreating staff members. No one wanted to step close. Even the academy handlers, 3 armored Drekin, hesitated at the threshold, their shock prods shaking in their hands. The predator rumbled low in its chest. The sound vibrated through Elias's ribcage. He didn't know if it was a warning or something else. Strangely, it didn't frighten him. The feeling was closer to standing near an enormous storm. Dangerous, yes, but impersonal. Unless he gave it reason. The handlers did not advance. Veyrax's glare cut toward Elias, hot with suspicion. "You will answer for this," he hissed, then barked orders to the staff in his native tongue. The shutters slammed closed, sealing the hall. The sound echoed like a prison door. The beast was eventually coaxed back into its cage, though coaxed was generous. It only moved after Elias stood and walked toward the open container. Like a loyal hound, it padded behind him. Gasps rippled again when it climbed inside without a fight. The door clanged, shut. Only then did the tension bleed out of the room. Elias exhaled, rolling his shoulders as though nothing unusual had happened. Inside, his pulse hadn't slowed since the thing first touched him. By the time he reached the corridors, rumors had already outrun him. Alien cadets lingered in groups, antennae flicking, eyes darting. Their conversations hushed when he walked past, only to resume louder once he was out of earshot. Unnatural. Bonded? Impossible. The human must carry some chemical. Snatches followed him. He ignored most, but one voice caught his attention. A young Kethari with pale frills, speaking in tones not meant to be overheard. "They said humans were prey species," the Kethari muttered to his companion. "But that thing knelt. Tell me, what predator kneels before food?" Elias paused just long enough to meet the student's gaze. The Kethari flinched and turned away. He kept walking. At the dining hall, the whispers grew sharper. His usual spot at the long communal table was vacant, plates pulled away, seats conspicuously empty. A few cadets outright rose when he entered. Only one stayed. A stocky Vrel named Jack, who waved him over with a grin full of serrated teeth. "Sit, human! You walk like a king already. Might as well eat like one." Elias sat across from him, setting down his tray. "You don't look scared." "Scared? No." "Curious, yes." Jack leaned forward. "That thing, Veil Predator, they call it, slaughtered half a capture crew before they dragged it in. And you? You scratch its head, and it bows like a cub. How?" Elias stabbed at his meal. "I didn't do anything." "Exactly my point. Sometimes nothing is the most suspicious thing." Jack chuckled, then lowered his voice. "Careful, human. Fear makes enemies fast. Instructor Veyrax will not let this stand." Elias didn't reply. He didn't need to. He could already feel the weight of eyes across the hall, every glance branding him as other. That night in the dormitory, his room door chimed. He opened it to find a small cluster of students, 2 Kethari, a Thrix, and a thin-limbed Omari. Their postures were stiff, antennae and frills angled in suspicion. The tallest Kethari spoke first. "We want answers." Elias crossed his arms. "To what question?" "What are you?" the Omari asked, voice clicking like stones. "That predator should have torn you apart. Instead, it submitted. You carry something hidden. Technology, pheromones, something unnatural." "I'm human," Elias said simply. "That's it." The Thrix hissed, mandibles twitching. "No species compels predators to kneel." Elias met their gazes, one by one, refusing to step back. Maybe it didn't kneel to a species. Maybe it knelt to me. The silence that followed was thick. The group exchanged uneasy glances. Then, without another word, they turned and left. Elias closed the door softly. Only then did he let his mask slip, running a hand through his hair. He wasn't lying. He truly didn't understand why the beast had chosen him. But he had seen the look in its eyes, those 7 burning orbs. Recognition. As if it had found something it had been searching for. And that terrified him more than anything else. The next day, the whisper solidified into distance. Instructors eyed him differently. Fellow cadets gave him a wide berth. Even the Academy's automated drones scanned him twice when he entered the labs. His datapad pinged with messages, anonymous warnings, veiled threats, crude jokes about humans training monsters. But beneath the noise was something subtler, fear wrapped in fascination. No one wanted to stand near him. No one wanted to admit they also wanted to know why. And through it all, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that the predator in its reinforced cage wasn't the one the Academy feared anymore. The summons came before dawn. Elias's datapad chimed once, glowing red with the Academy crest. "Report to Instructor Veyrax's chamber. Immediate." He dressed quickly, tugging on his standard cadet uniform. The corridors were quiet at this hour, lights dimmed to mimic night. Even so, a few cadets peeked from doorways as he passed, their stares quick and sharp. Word had spread far beyond his class. The chamber doors loomed ahead, black alloy carved with the jagged runes of Veyrax's species. Elias touched the panel. It slid open with a hiss. Inside, the air was warmer, thicker. Veyrax stood near a tank of nutrient fluid, claws tapping against its rim. Behind him, reinforced glass walls held the predator in its cage. Even through layers of alloy and energy fields, Elias felt the creature's presence like static in the air. "You are late," Veyrax hissed, though Elias had arrived early. "Good morning to you too," Elias replied evenly. The instructor's frills bristled. "Do not test me, human. Sit." Elias dropped into the chair across the table. The glass wall behind Veyrax hummed as the predator stirred, its 7 eyes glowing faintly. It rose when it saw Elias, pressing its plated body against the barrier. Veyrax's jaw tightened. "You see? Even caged, it reacts." "Explain this." "I can't." "You will." Elias held his ground. "I didn't train it. I didn't trick it. I didn't dose myself with chemicals, if that's what you're thinking. It just chose." Veyrax leaned forward, scales catching the light. "Predators do not choose. They obey instinct, prey or rival, kill or flee. Yet this one kneels. Either you lie, or your species hides something." Elias spread his hands. "Maybe your theories are wrong." The silence sharpened. Veyrax's frills trembled with suppressed fury. For a moment, Elias thought the instructor might strike him. Instead, Veyrax pivoted, slamming a clover, hand on the console. The glass partition shimmered and dissolved. The predator stepped into the chamber. Elias froze. No handlers, no restraints, just the creature and its clicking claws on the floor. Its gaze swept the room, then fixed on him. "Let us test your truth," Veyrax growled. The predator padded closer. Elias's heartbeat thundered in his ears. He forced himself to breathe evenly, remembering the way it had knelt in the lecture hall. Slowly, he lifted a hand, palm outward. The beast stopped, sniffed, Then, with a low rumble, it lowered its head again. Submission. Veyrax's snarl reverberated in the chamber. Impossible. Elias swallowed. Looks pretty possible from here. The Predator nudged Elias's knee, ignoring the instructor entirely. Its rumble deepened, not threatening but resonant, like the sound of a great engine. Elias hesitated, then laid a hand against its plated skull. Warm. Alive. Something stirred in his mind. Not words, not thoughts, but a pulse. Recognition. A feeling of kinship that was as alien as it was intimate. For a flicker of a second, Elias felt its hunger, its sharp instincts, its memory of hunting starscapes away. And layered beneath it all, the same thought as before. Not prey. Not rival. Equal. He jerked his hand back, gasping. Veyrax saw. You felt it, he hissed, voice like a blade. What did it give you? What weapon? Speak! Elias shook his head. It's not a weapon. It's connection. The instructor slammed the console again. Energy fields flared, and the Predator yelped as it was yanked back into confinement. Veyrax leaned close, his breath hot and bitter. You are dangerous, he said, low and certain. Humans always pretended to be small, harmless. Yet this proves otherwise. Do you think the Council will let this stand? You have revealed too much. I didn't reveal anything, Elias said, forcing calm into his voice. I just stood there. Exactly, Veyrax spat, and fear itself bowed. That is more dangerous than any blade. Elias was escorted out under heavy guard. No one explained why guards were necessary. Everyone knew. In the following days, the academy atmosphere thickened. Some students avoided him entirely. Others tested him with questions that barely disguised their hostility. Do all humans command predators? Do you secrete some chemical from your skin? Are you bred for war? Elias deflected them with sarcasm or silence, but each question only fueled the whispers. One evening, Jack Devral found him alone in the library, staring at archived reports of the Veil Predator. Still reading? Jack said, sliding into a chair. You won't find what you're looking for. The records all say the same thing. Savage, uncontrollable, unbreakable. No history of taming. Yeah, Elias muttered. Except now. Jack studied him for a long moment. Maybe it's not about taming. Maybe it recognized something. Like what? Elias asked, too tired to hide the frustration in his voice. Jack's grin showed sharp teeth. Like a predator that doesn't look like one. Elias sat back, the words settling heavier than he wanted to admit. He remembered the pulse he had felt when touching the beast. Not prey, not rival, equal. And the chilling thought followed. If predators see us as equals, what does that make us? The academy staff called it containment. To Elias, it felt more like surveillance. Everywhere he went, drones hovered at the edge of his vision. His datapad access was restricted. His instructors avoided direct questions. Even the dining hall served his meals separately now, as though fear might spread by contact. The only one who didn't treat him like contagion was the Predator itself. From behind its reinforced walls, it waited for him. Always. When Elias entered the observation deck, its 7 eyes tracked him. When he left, it paced the barrier, restless. The handlers had stopped trying to move it without him. The last attempt ended with 2 broken exosuits and a fractured wall. Reluctantly, the academy sanctioned supervised interaction sessions. Which meant Elias was brought in, the energy fields lowered, and half a dozen armed guards stood ready. On the 3rd session, Elias decided to stop pretending. He sat cross-legged on the floor of the enclosure. The Predator lowered itself across from him, massive head resting on its forelimbs. They regarded each other in silence. 2 creatures no one else wanted to understand. You know what they call you? Elias asked quietly. Monster. Apex. Killer. And still, you knelt. The Predator rumbled deep in its chest. He didn't flinch. Show me why. He reached out, slowly. The beast did not move until his hand rested against its armored skull. The pulse came again, stronger this time. Elias gasped as his mind lit with sensations, not his own. The rush of alien landscapes beneath clawed feet. The taste of blood hot in the air. The primal satisfaction of domination. And beneath it all, recognition. A mirror held up not to prey, not to rival, but to something rare. Equal. But the pulse deepened. New layers unfolded. He felt its confusion when it first saw him. A question it carried like instinct. How can prey look? Back without fear? How can prey hold still when teeth are inches away? The thought was not language, but Elias understood. Humans unsettled it. Not prey, not predator, a paradox. And predators, for all their savagery, recognized paradox as power. When he pulled his hand back, his chest heaved like he'd run a mile. The guards muttered nervously. One raised a shock pike. Elias glared at them. Relax. It's calmer than you are. Later that night, he was summoned again. This time not to Veyrax, but to the Academy Council. A semicircle of alien officials studied him with expressions ranging from distrust to naked fear. Veyrax stood among them, claws clicking impatiently. Cadet Elias Vance, intoned a Drekian administrator, her voice gravel-deep. Reports confirm you have established rapport with the Veil Predator. Explain how. I can't, Elias said, steady but blunt. It isn't something I did. It's something it recognized. Murmurs rippled. The Omari delegate hissed. Dangerous. No species commands such beasts. I didn't command it. Elias's voice sharpened. It bowed on its own. Veyrax's frills flared. A predator bows only to stronger predators. This is proof. Humanity is not harmless. It is deception made flesh. The council erupted in argument. Some demanded Elias's removal. Others argued to study him further. Through it all, Elias stood silent, feeling the predator's presence echo in his chest, even from across the facility. When silence finally fell, Elias spoke. You all see this as a threat. Maybe it is. But what scares you more? That the beast listened to me, or that I didn't have to raise a hand to make it? No one answered. Their silence was answer enough. The next day, Elias returned to the observation chamber. The predator rose as soon as it saw him. This time, Elias didn't sit. He stood tall, letting it circle him. You see something in me, he said softly. Not prey, not rival. Equal. But equal to what? To you? Or to what you represent? The beast stopped, rumbling. Elias touched its skull again. The pulse crashed through him like a tide. He saw flickers. Not just of this one creature, but of countless others like it, across star systems. And in those visions, humans appeared again and again, not as victims, not as hunters, but as something stranger, a presence predators respected. The connection snapped. Elias staggered, breath ragged. His hands trembled. The predator pressed its snout against his chest, steadying him. For the first time, Elias whispered the truth aloud. Fear doesn't own us. That's why you bow. That's why you obey. The beast's rumble was low, almost content. And Elias knew, with a clarity that chilled him, this was no accident. Humanity carried something in its bones that even nightmares recognized. That night, as he lay awake in his dorm, a final realization struck him. The aliens thought humans were prey learning to survive among predators. But maybe, just maybe, predators had always been learning how to survive among humans. The training hall was silent, save for the slow, uneven breathing of the alien creature crouched behind Daniel. Its massive, scaled body curled low, claws retracted, its luminous eye scanning the chamber full of shocked students and pale-faced instructors. The council delegates, who had come to observe the demonstration, looked anything but triumphant now. They had expected a spectacle of fear, a human broken and begging under the weight of an apex predator. Instead, their prized terror beast had chosen him as protector. One of the instructors, a tall Afghor with translucent skin and a voice like breaking glass, finally found words. This is impossible. That species responds to dominance, not... His gaze lingered on Daniel with something between awe and resentment. Not loyalty. Daniel didn't move. He could feel the creature's hot breath against his back, its trembling frame pressing close, as though every other life form in the room was a threat. His voice was low but steady. You brought it here to make an example of me. Instead, you just proved your theories about humans are wrong. The council envoy, cloaked in shimmering diplomatic garb, scowled. This is not a bond. It is an anomaly, a misfire of instincts, nothing more. Daniel finally turned to face him. Call it what you want, but the creature chose. You don't get to control that. The envoy's throat frill flared in anger. He raised his hand, signaling the guards. Remove the beast. Reset the trial. But the predator's reaction was instant. It rose to its full, towering height, a guttural growl rattling the reinforced walls. Every student flinched. The guards froze. Even the envoy's command died on his lips. And then Daniel stepped forward, raising one hand, not in command, but in reassurance. His voice softened, almost gentle. Easy. No one's going to hurt you. The growl tapered. The creature lowered its head until its brow nearly touched Daniel's hand. It was submission, but also trust. The sight left the entire hall stunned. Whispers rippled through the students. Impossible. No one has ever calmed one. They only obey brutality. The envoy slammed a fist on the table. This proves nothing. One student's trick of pheromones. Nothing more. Humanity remains unfit for advanced integration. This demonstration is invalid. At that, Instructor Tal, usually silent and aloof, finally spoke. His slitted eyes narrowed, voice deliberate. Invalid. The entire hall witnessed it. The beast has declared its bond, and it has done so with the one you sought to humiliate. The envoy's throat frill paled, anger seeping into desperation. If the council learns of this, they will learn of it, Tal interrupted coldly. Daniel felt the creature's weight shift, protective, ready to strike if he commanded. But he didn't want violence, not here, not now. Instead, he faced the envoy and the instructors. His words were plain, unadorned. You tried to make me the example of weakness. Instead, you've made me the example of choice. And that's something you can't undo. The silence that followed was heavier than any roar. Students looked at him with wide eyes, not in mockery now, but in something closer to respect. Some looked afraid, not of him, but of what this meant. The envoy seethed. You do not understand what you've done, human. The council fears what it cannot control. And you, his eyes flicked to the creature, you've just shown them exactly that. Daniel didn't flinch. Then maybe it's time the galaxy learns that fear doesn't work on us. The envoy left in fury, his guards following close. The instructors said nothing, each processing the shift they had just witnessed. When the hall finally emptied, only Daniel and the creature remained. He lowered himself to the floor, meeting its gaze. You chose me. I don't know why, but I won't let them use you again. The predator blinked slowly, then curled around him, its massive tail resting near his feet. For the first time, Daniel realized it wasn't just protecting him. It was at peace. And in that quiet, something undeniable crystallized. The aliens had tried to use fear to prove humanity's inferiority. Instead, they had uncovered the one thing they never expected, that even the galaxy's monsters could see in humans what others refused to. Not weakness, but strength in compassion, in choice, in the refusal to bend. It was the kind of truth that didn't just stay in a classroom. It spread. And Daniel knew this was only the beginning. HFY Theme delivered. Humanity's strength lies not in brutality, but in compassion, in forging bonds where others only see dominance. What aliens thought would be humiliation became revelation. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to the Void Narratives for more humanity, fuck yeah tales.